Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary, Ashton, and this is our NXT review. Gotta say, love this episode of NXT. Loved how certain storylines were progressed. I love the main event, and there was one particular segment that highlighted Finn Balor that I thought was done brilliantly. I cannot say enough good things about this segment, but I'm going to hold off until we get to the appropriate place. Ashton, what do you think of this show tonight?
This was such a good show. I'm so glad that NXT has kind of gotten back to its groove that it was in before Unstoppable, because like leading up to Unstoppable, I feel like, actually I shouldn't even say before Unstoppable, I should say before then, because I feel like leading up to Unstoppable, it kind of like hit a rut. It's one of those things where NXT is really at its best when it's building to a big show. And if you look at like the 3 weeks up to Unstoppable, it was great, but anything kind of before that, after Rival, there was a big lull in the middle there. And I feel like they even hit a little bit of a lull right after Unstoppable. But over the last 2, maybe even 3 weeks, it's been absolutely on point.
Oh, I completely agree. I feel like NXT has started to regain that white hotness that we have come to love from it, where all the pieces are just, jiving together and really coming together in a cohesive whole. And again, that main event segment and just the whole highlighting of Finn Balor, just really, really phenomenal. But with that said, let us get right into our first segment, Heat of the Night. I've got no heats of the night tonight, no nitpicks. Everything was good tonight, man, from where I'm sitting. What about you?
Yeah, this was a really solid show. If I had to have a heat of the night, it would just be that they still haven't decided to change Samoa Joe's freaking theme music.
Brain uplink here, you and I, because I hear that theme, and I don't groan because I think that's hyperbole, but I do kind of roll my eyes because I'm like, oh man, because it's just so underwhelming. Like, I'll be honest, I even kind of like the intro a little bit. It has grown on me, but then you go into
yeah,
that
I mean, well,
like,
here's the
theme.
thing. Yeah, like the intro would be great if it didn't literally sound like someone was saying "ooh-ha" in the background, because like we know now that ooh-ha Nation's here, so that it's almost like it sounds fitting for Samoa Joe, but the words themselves are like a fake out for, or not even the words, but the sound, like the vocals, I guess you could say, it's like a fake out, because every time you hear that you think, okay, ooh-ha Nation's coming out, but then not only that, but then it like breaks down into, it sounds almost like canned heat, like it's freaking, I don't even know how to describe Caribbean music, man. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's like they're trying to turn Samoa Joe into the Funkasaurus without telling him that he's doing it.
I freaking hate it. Honestly, and now this may be a bit of hyperbole, but at the moment, when you think of current themes, particularly NXT, it's got to be my least favorite theme, because it just seems completely antithetical to everything that Samoa Joe is about.
No, I completely agree with you. I mean, there are some amazing themes. I think it feels like we are in a golden age of wrestling themes, and I think that that's a lot to do with CFO money being so prominent right now.
Right.
But holy crap, like, did CFO Money do Samoa Joe's current theme? Because if they did, it's a massive stinker and a huge step back for them. But if they didn't, they need to, because holy crap, it's bad.
Exactly. Like, I'm sorry, because you and I watched an exclusive, like, Samoa Joe talking about the main event, which I guess we'll kind of wrap up with the main event segment. But Samoa Joe's promo style, he speaks with such an intensity and a vitriol, and a lust for violence. And then you do the backdrop of this whole theme while it doesn't jive at all. Like, they clash so violently. And, like, I want to get amped up when Samoa Joe's entering a ring. I want to know that violence is coming, that destruction is coming. Here, it's like you're hearing it at a really bad dance club, and everybody's just looking awkwardly at each other.
Not even just a dance club, but like a really bad generic 80s throwback dance club.
Yeah, dude, just we can't eviscerate this theme enough, but I'm so glad you pointed it out, because really for me, until they change it, it could be something every week, but I want this to be the last time that I personally talk about it, because I know we don't like to belabor points on TWitWoW, but
I mean, for what it's worth, I think this is only the third time that we've heard it, maybe the fourth, but I think it's only the third. And I'm pretty sure that all of these instances are from the one set of tapings. So maybe when they have a new set of tapings make their rounds, we'll get a new theme, and we just haven't seen it yet because it hasn't aired yet.
I mean, NXT's always been very good about giving their superstars at particular points, new theme music. I mean, it's
right. Well, and that's the thing too, is that NXT TakeOver Unstoppable and the set of tapings following, so like the 3 or 4 weeks after that show, were all filmed within 2 days of each other. So you've got to imagine that they gave themselves the opportunity to be like, okay, the crowd really does not care for this theme song. We've got to do something. And then they had a few weeks to come up with something.
Right. And I can tell you, whatever they come up with, it has to be a step above this. It has to. So that's all I want to say about that. Is there anything else you want to address, Ashton, before we formally move on to our review?
No, I don't think so. I'm trying to figure out, the NXT. I wish there was like an actual schedule available where you could see NXT's actual taping schedule. Because that's something that I would be very curious to see, just to know. I don't even need to know what the results are. I just want to know when they tape each episode. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll just have to kind of sit back and wait for something to happen as far as the theme song goes.
Yeah, definitely. You and me both. All right, guys, with that said, let us roll right on through to our NXT review. And it does start with, the Dusty Rhodes tribute, the same as, Raw and SmackDown and all those programs. But when we formally get into NXT, we hear the music of Enzo and Big Cass hit. So we know that our inner-person six-man tag team matchup is going to open the show. And, yeah, it's Enzo, Big Cass, and Carmella making their entrance. Not really many memorable one-liners here, when they cut their usual promo during their entrance. But I will say this. They are still one of the hottest acts in NXT. The crowd loves these guys. And yes, I say all of them because they have taken a shine to Carmella as well, which is wonderful to see.
Yeah. I was so worried that she was going to be this like super heel where like she tries to drive Enzo and Cass apart. And they even kind of hinted at that a little bit. But the way that they've come around with her has been brilliant.
And I'm so happy about it, because I think that former case too, where the woman tries to drive a wedge between the two guys, we've seen that before. We've seen that storytelling.
Trish Stratus.
Yeah, Trish Stratus. And the only difference was I thought that was done really well. I don't know if it really holds up today now that I'm older, but I enjoyed it back then. Here, it's great to see that they can all come together for a common cause, and Carmella can be embraced the way that she has, especially by the crowd, which I give them big ups for, the whole no means no and creepers chant, because I just think that's so mindful of them. But
yeah, by the way, John, I know that we've kind of moved on a little bit, but before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I do want to say I'm looking right now, and this was the last episode in the first set of tapings after Unstoppable.
Okay. All right, so that's good to know. We got a little bit of a timeline now going.
Yeah, how good is that? That's really good to know, actually. That actually gives me hope that they're finally going to make a change to Joe's theme, and not only that, but then that like we're going to be getting all new content from here on out.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that makes me very excited, and kudos to you for finding it. My cohort and commentary people, always so clutch.
Yeah, I actually literally just Googled NXT tapings, and it was the first result.
The internet, solving our problem since, I don't know, look it up. Anyway.
That was good.
But do you have anything else you want to say about Enzo, Big Cass, and Carmella on your end?
Well, are you kidding me? They're great. Enzo, Cass, and Carmella, all three of them really at this point are really. I think that Enzo obviously is the most complete of the three as a performer because he's so good at selling in the ring, and any bit of offense that he gets, everyone freaking just freaks out for, just because he so rarely gets it. And I think that that's honestly a great part of his character because it works so well for him. But as far as the other two go, Cass, amazing look. His physique has gotten so much better since his time in FCW because like he's actually got cuts now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When he was in FCW, he was built SAWFT soft. He was, cushy in the freaking midsection, if you know what I'm saying. And Carmella, I won't necessarily say that she's gotten really, great in the ring, but you could definitely tell that she's constantly working at her in-ring work. And she's a natural on the mic. I will say that. She is a natural on the mic. Her body language, her, the way that she says things, her is it inflection? No. Of her voice. What is it?
Yeah, I think you had it right. It is inflection.
It is inflection? It just sounds weird for some reason, but yeah. She's a good actress. I think she just needs to just keep on grinding it out, getting better in the ring, and she's going to be one of those women that's an NXT woman that everyone absolutely loves and thinks is better than the main roster women, and she's well on her way.
Completely agree. I can't even add anything more to that. When we look at the opposition, Blake and Murphy and Alexa Bliss, I love these guys. I love the synchronization of the attire.
I actually feel annoyed. I feel robbed by this match because Buddy Murphy was barely a part of it at all.
That's so true. That's a great point too. He really didn't get much in ring time here.
I think he tagged in one time, and it was for a headlock, and then he got tagged out.
I love, what I was thinking about too, about the whole packaging of Blake and Murphy, and 2 points I want to make here. A, the theme, I'm glad that they changed it, because I think their prior theme, people were really digging that, and it probably got more of a babyface vibe, so way to change it and kind of complete the more packaging.
I didn't even notice the new theme.
Yeah, well, it's been a new, because that hasn't always been their theme.
Are we talking about the, wait, we're talking about...
Yeah, Blake and Murphy, their theme.
The dubstep theme.
Yeah, the dubstep theme. That's not the usual dubstep theme they've used. In fact,
they changed it.
Yeah, I know they've been using this particular one for I think 2 weeks, maybe a little longer than that. But wow. I know they had one prior to that I think was more upbeat, more excitable, all that stuff.
Yeah, the dubstep. Well, is this one dubstep too?
Yeah, it has dubstep elements, but I think it's more slowed down. I don't really know how to describe it.
Huh, that's interesting, because I really liked their old theme. I I thought it was ridiculous, but that's just perfect for them, because everything about them is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, well, when they were baby, they were high energy and doing.
Have they ever been baby faces though?
That's
the first team that they beat for the titles were the frickin' Lucha Dragons.
That's true, but I guess I only say they're baby because when they won the titles, the crowd received it well, and they even cut a promo hey, anytime anybody wants to fight us, we're here. So they were giving off a babyface vibe.
It was almost like that underdog, no one knows who we are kind of thing.
But then again, in NXT, it's so hard to ascribe alignment because for all intents and purposes, Charlotte's a babyface, but then there are times she'll tell the crowd to hush up when she's talking. So I don't freaking know.
That was a while ago, though. I think it's safe to say she's full on babyface now.
Yeah.
She was going through a phase back then.
Yeah, she had to figure herself out. Second thing, I love this trend. I want to be careful with my wording here because I don't want it to become too common, of people playing around with their look, particularly the heels, to get some kind of a reaction. We saw it first with Sheamus, and now with Wesley Blake and the pigtails. They're effective.
I love Wesley Blake. Well, and it's not even just the pigtails. At Unstoppable, he had freaking French braids.
Yeah, they're effective, and he'll probably change his look again the next time we see him, which is great, because then he won't get entrenched in one particular look, which I think is wonderful. But they're effective when, I'm sorry, and this is probably going to make me come off looking so bad, I couldn't stop looking at them. I'm wow, they're actually thing. And then when he does the thing, he wishes him back.
Around, he pointed him out, and then he was just I can't help it if I look good.
Yeah, exactly. And he even said, I can't help it that I'm good, and I can't help it, that this all looks so good. Because he even did, with his hands, he brushed him, back, and he was just yeah, that's right, I'm owning it. And I'm well, that's great, Blake. Yeah, own that shit. But I just couldn't stop looking. So that they have an effect, because it's making me pay attention to Blake. It makes him stand out. Now, I don't want everybody to undergo some kind of body modification, whether it's their hair, their look, whatever, because then it would just become a tired thing. But the fact that heels are undertaking it to stand out, to draw heat by looking, at least in the eyes of the observer, being the audience, ridiculous, I think is an ingenious way to get heat. So I really wanted to make that point. As far as the match goes, nothing really much to say on my end. I really enjoyed it. I like the back and forth. I did make, because Ashton's the No King, and I'm never going to surpass
I'm the what?
Amazing Notes. The Note King. You take really
Oh,
good
the
notes.
Note King. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I take pretty decent notes every
Yeah,
time I watch NXT or Lucha Underground, which I didn't have to do tonight because we did live reactions.
Oh my God, so worth it, guys. Yeah, go check those out if you haven't. I had so much fun. But I actually took a mental note. I know nothing compared to the physical, but still. And I said, and I even said this to you in conversation. I wanted to repeat it again on TWitWoW. If Enzo and Colin Cassidy were on the main roster, Colin Cassidy would easily overtake Titus O'Neil with best hot tag going today in the tag team
You know
division.
what, though? Just because Tyson Kidd's injured now, I don't think that we can discount Cesaro for that hot tag.
That's true, too. Cesaro has an amazing hot tag, but you know what? You're right. If they were still active, they'd be in the running. I just think when Colin Cassidy comes in...
He kills everyone.
He kills everyone, and
I was waiting for him to give a frickin' back elbow to Alexa and just be like, oops, and then move on to someone else.
And here's the difference, I think, between Colin Cassidy and the other two guys, being Cesaro and Titus O'Neil that we were talking about, if this really was a competition. There have been times that I've actually told you that when Colin Cassidy gets a hot tag, I say, well, it's over. Because that's how effective his hot tag is. Like, he comes in, and he's not looking to just get pops. He's looking to finish it. And he's so effective at it. And
But you know what I love, though, that gets him so over as a babyface in my book?
What's that?
No matter how dominant he is, and he is dominant, he kills everyone. He takes 2-on-1 lightly, and he can afford to because 2-on-1 isn't enough to do anything to him. No matter what, he always makes sure Enzo gets the pin.
Yes, and it gives them that vibe of a real team rather than one guy doing all the work and one guy just being there.
No, not even. No, I wouldn't even say that. I would just say that is the sort of the double-edged sword of this team, is that Cass could literally win the tag team championships by himself, but he refuses to do that because he wants Enzo to be just as much a part of winning as he is.
That's probably the most beautiful description of their friendship I've ever heard.
It's amazing, though. It's so sweet when you think about it. It's like Cass could literally win the tag titles at will by himself, but no, he's reaching his hand out and he's like, no, Enzo, we're doing this together.
Oh my God, the whole way you just described everything is going to make it all that more heartbreaking if Cass ever turns on Enzo, and I'm going to blame you for it.
No, it's never going to happen.
I wouldn't have had these feels if it wasn't for you. But
just like Basuka's never going to die on Dexter, Cass is never turning on Enzo.
Oh my God, you weren't supposed to make me have a field turn when we were recording. God damn it! Now we gotta move on because I can't think about the implications of this. But yeah, Enzo, Cass, and Carmella do win, and I gotta give credit here. One more thing, because we said it about Seth Rollins on Monday. I gotta carry it over to Blake and Murphy here. When they're just looking back at Enzo and Cass and they realize they lost, they're clutching those titles like that's their life.
Yeah,
and I love that sell because they realize, oh my God, if they did it once, they can do it again. And that time very well could be for our tag team titles.
See, to me, they were more thinking like, oh God, I really don't want to fight them again. That hurt a lot, but I guarantee you they're never going to beat us without her.
Right, exactly.
It's like they just had it in their mind that no, Carmella was the difference in that match.
You're right, though. Oh man, but anything else?
Wasn't for her. If it was just us versus them, they stand no chance.
Exactly. Loveliest and greatest team ever. But yeah, anything else you want to say about that match?
Yeah, I liked the execution of the Cass assisted Enzo splash tonight better than usual.
Nice.
It seems like Cass kind of actually did assist Enzo a little bit more than usual. Usually, and I think that this is kind of another thing that's great, usually it looks like Cass just kind of puts his hands under Enzo and then Enzo does all the work and he does the jump and Cass doesn't really do anything but kind of make it look like he's helping. And I almost prefer that, just thinking about it, because that kind of plays into their dynamic more, where like Cass is this big monster and Enzo is more like, he's like all talk but no bite, and he like the fact that Enzo's got it in him this whole time to do that splash by himself, but he just needs his buddy there to help him out, even though he's not actually helping. Again, it's just these guys have such a great relationship. It's amazing.
Dude, watch them win the tag titles when Enzo does do that splash by himself. Because they've even kind of teased, he doesn't really know how to balance himself on the top rope. That's always where Cass comes in. But when push comes to shove, maybe he'll finally do that splash by himself.
Yes.
I'll be amazed.
Oh, that'd be so good.
What a storytelling point that would be. But yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up.
These guys are the best friends in wrestling history.
I know. Why did you have to explain it so beautifully like that? Oh, God. You guys can never break up now. You can never do singles, ever. Yeah.
If they ever stop doing tag team wrestling, it's because Enzo became the mouthpiece and Cass became the singles wrestler.
Yeah.
But not breaking up, ever.
Yeah, you can never break up. Not after what this man did. It's all his fault. It's all your fault, Ashton.
Shut up! Up next, Samoa Joe cut an awkward promo about how he's going to tear Kevin Owens apart tonight, and then he just stopped talking even though the camera was still on him.
Is editing not a thing? Because I liked his promo here, but why have those seconds?
Well, no, they had to edit tonight's show because they had to cut out the Vaudevillains match.
Yeah. Oh, God, the Vaudevillains match we were supposed to get. I got all
Well, no, I don't know if you, and I just read the report because, again, I was looking up when the tapings were. Jason Jordan's partner got legitimately injured 3 minutes into the match, and they had to cart him to the back.
Oh, God.
That's why they probably cut the match from tonight, because they didn't want to show that. And that's, honestly, it worked out for the best, because that's probably the reason why we got our next segment, our Finn Balor look inside the freaking demon, except it wasn't the demon, it was Fergal Devitt the person, and it was amazing.
Oh, my God. You know, guys, I gotta say this. I give WWE flack for a lot of things at times when I really do believe they deserve it.
The one thing that they will never have a second place trophy for, though, is video packages.
They do the best video packages. They could, when I said, what was it, just last week on last week's NXT TWitWoW when they did the Dana Brooke video package, that It was so good, they almost made me care about Dana Brooke, and it wasn't even their fault. It's just me being a douche. You know you're doing something right. This was a masterpiece. I told Ashton in conversation, when they make Finn Balor's 3-disc documentary set or whatever they're going to come out with for him, because they're not going to screw him up. This guy is going to take everything. I refuse to believe anything else. It's going to work, and when they come out with this set, I'm buying that. And that really.
And that'll be the first one that you ever buy, isn't it?
One of, but with my own money and not as a gift. Yeah, I think one of, definitely.
What else? What other wrestling DVDs have you bought with your own money?
My own money? I'm trying to think.
Because I know for a fact that you never even bought John Morrison Rockstar, and that just blew my mind.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I can't even think of one that I paid for with my own money. So yeah, maybe this would be the first.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Because if they can do this just to hype up the NXT Championship match against Kevin Owens in Sumo Hall July 4th, which, don't get me wrong, is a huge deal. Just imagine when they're recapping his career and his life is going to be like. Oh,
they're calling it WWE Supercard.
Oh, nice.
But the crazy thing is, and just take a moment to let this sink in, John. Finn Balor and Kevin Owens are main eventing a show that Brock Lesnar is wrestling on.
I know. Oh my God, I love NXT so much. But guys, it's just Fergal telling his story. The first question right away, who is Fergal Devitt? And he explains it. And you know what? I kind of like that it wasn't a rags to riches kind of story. His family was supportive. People were supportive, and he wanted to do it, and he went out and he did it. Really, the more emotional aspect for me, Ashton.
Becky Lynch.
Becky Lynch. It wasn't even about Fergal. Yeah, it was about Becky.
I think that her part in this whole thing made it go from a solid B+ to a just full on give me, let me give you all my money, just A+ out of the freaking park.
Oh yeah, well her emotion, which was incredibly genuine. She was even crying during the thing. She said, to say that Finn helped me, to say that he saved my life. She used that term, save my life. Doesn't even really begin to cover it, is more or less what she's getting across, because it was Finn, the school, I guess. I don't know if it was his school or a school that he was just.
Well, she straight up said, if he hadn't opened that school, I wouldn't be here today.
Right, that's that's right. Yeah, I had trouble recollecting if he had opened the school or what. Yeah, it was a school he opened, and they were talking about the story, and she lied about her age to him. She said that she was 17 when she was really 15 because she really wanted in, and she said, like, I knew I was bad, but, like, he had all the patience in the world, and Finn's like, no.
And then Finn's just like, yeah, he's just like, I can't even take credit for training her because she had it in her the whole time. She just had to find it within herself.
Yeah, this rapport that these two have, like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
So it's great to learn about it, especially for the first time. Like, that's one of the pleasures of not reading every backstage story, like, about a potential, like, relationship, friendship, whatever, and just really finding it on screen for yourself the first time, because it hit me hard. I'm like, wow, that's something. Just so brilliantly done. And yeah, if you weren't rooting for Finn Balor before, you've got to be after watching that. I can only imagine what part 2 is going to be like next week. I mean, the idea that a video package could be a highlight of an NXT, as I think it will be next week, and it certainly was tonight, is insanity. But that's WWE for you. When they really put their back into it and they want to hype something, they do it better than anybody else.
Yep.
Yeah. Ashton, do you have anything you want to say about it?
Man, no. I don't think that I even want to add anything to it because it was just so well done that I don't want to sort of tarnish how good it was.
All right, then let's
I
move
think,
on.
well, I was just,
Okay.
I say I'm not going to add anything and then I get ready to say something. But yeah, I just think that the whole sort of idea that Finn Balor, they showed ICW, I think it was.
Yeah.
They showed ICW clips of him in different body paints. They showed the Venom one. They showed a bunch of different body paint variations that he's worn over the years in ICW. And then he even mentioned that he was going to New Japan, and that was kind of where the whole clip stopped. So I'm assuming we're going to get some New Japan footage next week, which is going to be retarded. Like, I don't even know what to think. And then you get Becky Lynch talking about how he helped her so much, and like, and what another thing that I really love that I don't think WWE would have the subtlety to be able to pull off is that they have Finn Balor and Becky Lynch next to each other talking, and it's these two Irish people, and in WWE immediately they're a couple, but in NXT they're just really good friends with mutual admiration for each other that are in the same profession that are good friends. That's it. It's just that's where the buck stops.
Right.
I love that so much.
I love it too because it goes against this common notion, which I still think does exist throughout certain parts of our society, that, you know, men and women can't be really good friends. It always has to be something more. And with these guys, you're right. It's just a pure mutual admiration for two people that were a big part of each other's journey.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes me want Becky Lynch to be a part of Finn's big title win, you know, because after seeing that, it's like, oh, man, hits me so hard. But I love it.
I feel the opposite. I feel like I would almost want them to both win different matches, like big match. Like, I almost feel like I want Becky to win the women's championship on the same night that Finn wins the NXT championship now, so that they can celebrate together.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I don't want them to actually interact beyond just the fact that they're friends and they respect each other. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah. All right. Now that I said I'm not going to add anything, and then I spent 5 minutes adding something, let's move on.
All right. So
they did that awesome thing where they've been doing with women lately, where they actually advertise Charlotte being in action next. I love that.
Yeah, and then we get Charlotte versus Casey Cassidy, correct?
Yes, sir. You're learning. You're learning.
Now, here's the thing, guys. Which I suggest everybody check out, because I had the biggest smile just hearing him talk. After Ashton's huge discussion about Jessie McKay and what this means for the NXT Women's Division, I'm going to hand the ball over to him. How do you feel Cassidy did tonight against Charlotte? What do you think about this match?
I thought she was great. I mean, here's the thing. Last week, say what you want about me talking about Jessie McKay, I talked about Casey Cassidy almost as much.
That is true. You talked about both women. So, again, even more reason to go and check that out, because he said a lot of stuff. Yeah.
I did. I went on a solid, 10, maybe 15-minute sort of tangent just talking about Casey Cassidy and Jessie McKay being that sort of next in line to the top women in NXT being some of the best workers in the entire WWE. And after seeing this match, yeah, call Charlotte and Sasha up and we'll be just fine on NXT.
We will be. And you know what? I think that whole tangent you had about these two women, your claims got bolstered in this match, because here's my thing. Casey Cassidy did get offense in this match, and she really hung in there with Charlotte, which I think is a huge deal because they make Charlotte look like a huge deal. See what happens when you actually protect your performers and you make them look good, you know? And she hung in there. And my thing, and I even told you, like, I may be looking too much into it, but I feel it bears repeating here. What I really loved about this match was the finish, because Charlotte, she gets a big spear on Casey Cassidy. And really, for all intents and purposes, she probably could have gotten the pin there, but she still felt the need to lock in the figure eight and get the win that way. And Cassidy didn't even tap out immediately. She did last a few seconds, you know.
Well, I mean, she didn't tap out to the figure four, but as soon as Charlotte kind of bridged it into the figure eight, she started tapping.
Exactly, which, you know, is, you know, it sells the move, right? Because it's twice as good as her dad. So
and that's that's another thing. Like, it's these little nuances that you have to notice. That's something that I think is a great thing, that she paid attention to the move. She knows that Charlotte doesn't just win with the figure four. She knows that Charlotte does the whole bridge thing with the figure eight. And I don't know if she was specifically watching or if she could feel it, but she waited until that figure eight was locked in. She didn't tap to the figure four. She waited until it was the figure eight, and then she tapped like crazy because she's putting over the move. It's psychology 101, man.
Absolutely. And I mean, clearly she has her PhD because she did everything right in this match. And I loved it, man.
And that's another crazy thing, is that Charlotte came into this match as a babyface, and by the end of the match, she felt like a heel because Casey is such a good natural babyface.
Oh, yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, Ashton, because that was the other interesting kind of talking point for me in this match. And again, I'm not going to think too much of it because I just think, well, typical Charlotte. But she did kind of have those mannerisms here, like, oh, she offered to give, like, a high five, and then when Casey was going to go, like, reciprocate, she slicks the hair back and she goes woo, and she does her dad's strut. And then all this stuff, you know, just like the way she was acting in the match, and again, like, really being excessive with the force. Like, again, you could have won with the spear, but you feel the need to lock in the figure eight. And yeah, Casey Cassidy, for hanging with Charlotte, I think looks like such a strong babyface, you know, going forward. And I think people will be intrigued by her future, because if you look at the progression, you know, first Sasha Banks is kind of that woman, then you have Becky Lynch, you know, trying to find herself. Maybe Casey Cassidy will be the next one, that, you know, she's doing this now, but then she explodes into something that nobody, you know, would have expected. Like,
and see, that's an interesting way of looking at it, because every clip that I've seen of Casey Cassidy and Jessie McKay, and that's regardless of promotion, whether it was an Australian promotion or I'm pretty sure Jessie McKay did some work for Shine. It doesn't matter. Jessie is always heel and Casey is always babyface, and they're consistent with that on NXT now too. Casey worked more babyface tonight and against Sasha a month ago, and Jessie last week worked very much heel. She worked the hold and all that stuff. So that's staying consistent. So if what you're suggesting with Casey Cassidy turning because of the evil mirror in the women's locker room, if that does happen, it would be the first time that I personally will have ever been exposed to a heel Casey Cassidy.
Very interesting, because, you know, I'm ignorant to both of these women's histories, which is, you know, why I think it's so vital that you're here. Maybe even not so much.
See, John, but that's the thing. I'm also ignorant to their histories. I just care enough to actually research and find matches and watch them.
Definitely.
I thought you did too, man. Come on.
Well, no, I mean, hey, look, honestly,
you're too busy watching The Rock and Triple H go for 60 minutes from 2000.
Hey, getting hyped for that all night long, baby, and it was worth it. It was worth it. I make no apologies, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if it'll be.
No, but dude, that's what I did after I uploaded NXT TWitWoW last week. Was I went and I googled Casey Cassidy, Jessie McKay, and they actually had a full 7 or 8 minute match. I watched that. They both had promos available to watch. I watched those. Jessie McKay had a match or two from Shine to watch online. I watched those. You know, they had some stuff that was available to watch, and it's worth checking out. It's good stuff.
Definitely. I'll keep that in mind, man.
And some of the stuff too, some of the stuff you could see, it was from 2008, 2009, and you just kind of have to wonder how much have they improved since then, because if it's really any amount, they've gotten amazing.
Definitely.
And now we're seeing them work NXT, and it's like, dang, these women are hanging, man. They're not just good; they're hanging with the best that NXT's got to offer. I mean, here's the thing: these two women have been in the ring so far with Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte.
Right.
Just let that process.
I mean, yeah, that's like 3/4 of the 4 horsewomen right
there.
there.
Like they're not wasting these two on like Dana Brooke, Carmella, Alexa, like the lower tier. They are shooting them straight to the top.
Probably because they know, like, hey, the 4 horsewomen.
Sasha and Charlotte, man. Sasha and Charlotte are getting called up soon. And specifically Charlotte, but I think both of them. I think both of them are going to be on the main roster within 3 months.
And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if within, even a more like recent like period of time after they both get called up, they start feuding with each other. I feel like they're kind of a package deal at this point. If you saw their work in NXT, that's just kind of my feeling. So we'll have to see. But yeah, the division is definitely in good hands with Casey Cassidy and Jessie McKay. From the brief things that I've seen and just your passionate discussion about these women. So yeah, I'm completely confident. This is a solid match.
Absolutely. So we go from that to Dana Brooke cutting a promo, and she's pulling a Ryback here, John. She literally looks like she's reading a teleprompter while she's cutting this promo.
You know what? And that may be the case, but I will say I like this one more than some of her other promos, especially like the when she actually focused on Charlotte when she made that.
Right.
Shift, I think the promo.
Well, I think that's the thing is that what made this better is that she actually had focus and she wasn't just kind of talking herself up and bragging about her body. She specifically targeted Charlotte, and that was good. But everything else seemed almost worse because it was very rehearsed. It was very much like she was just reading lines. She's not a natural actor at all. Her diction is bad. She's just, I'm telling you, man, everything about the packaging is great. The performer is the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, she says how she's been misunderstood. People say, she's a former bodybuilder, but she's currently competing in the Arnold Classic in Brazil. And then when the focus does shift to Charlotte, which is what everybody should care about, she says, Charlotte may, have the flair, but I am the total diva. Some people, she made like this analogy with this door that I did like. I think some people get through the door through hard work, and some people do because of their families. Charlotte, I am going to push you out that door, and then I am going to slam it shut. So yeah, that latter half was definitely better, and I did like what she had to say there. But let me kind of shift the discussion a little bit. I'm going to pass the ball to you. Let's talk about Devin Taylor for a second, because Dana Brooke leaves.
Yes, she's going to explode.
Dana Brooke leaves, but then she comes back, and she says, oh, and Devin, by the way, being away, I realized I really miss doing this. And then she pats Devin on the head.
Yep.
Now, why I even bring this up is because the camera lingers on Devin and her facial expression. I was scared she was going to develop a twitch in, like, her right eye.
Yeah.
Do we feel like a story is being told with Devin Taylor here, Ashton? Or do you think this is just,
dude?
like, yeah.
As much as I want to, no, I don't think so. I think that was just a happenstance. I think they just caught her. I think it could have been Tom Phillips, and he would have probably made the same face,
So you just think this is just an idea of, like, an interviewer taking their lumps and just not at the office?
Exactly.
It
could have been Renee. I don't think anyone would be suggesting that she's going to get in the ring. It's just, I don't know. And from what I understand, Devin Taylor is extremely far from being ready.
Okay. Oh, God. And then you put those two together. Yeah, that would stink up the joint then if that's
exactly.
the case. So yeah, I guess there's nothing really I can add given your answer. Not really much to work off of, but I see your point. Hopefully soon I would like to see if Devin can maybe improve, because it would be nice to see, her get some pushback, because Dana Brooke isn't the first person to kind of walk all over her. There are people that have come before Dana Brooke, and maybe, this would be Devin Taylor's breaking point, but we'll see. We'll see.
We will see. I don't think it's going to lead to anything. It wouldn't surprise me if it did, just because NXT kind of knows how to plant those seeds, but I do doubt it. So up next, we got that Finn Balor Arrives video to hype up the 4th of July show, the Super Card show. So that was cool. But then we get to our main event. Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe. Talk about a freaking slugfest.
Dude, first thing I got to say, right out of the gate, I love how WWE booked Samoa Joe in this match.
Yep.
I do. He looked so legit. from the gate, because Kevin Owens is going to do his usual bullshit of, oh, well, I'll wrestle the match on my terms, because, you know, I'm a good man. And
you say the usual bullshit, but you cheer him every time he does it.
I do, because I freaking love douchebags.
Just like, that's right, on his terms, yeah!
Yeah, that is so my mannerisms. Oh, man, God, I love you guys. But, yeah, he leaves. But then Joe immediately, though, chases after him. He gets up in his face. Like,
yep.
This is why
and Kevin Owens just kind of shits a brick, and he's like, okay, I guess we're going to do this in the middle of the ring. All right, let's go.
His body language was even like, yeah, I acknowledge you, you know, you're not like everybody else. But then, oh, God, I'm probably going to jump around, and Ash, and I apologize, because then I'll give you the ball to maybe kind of rewind.
Well, one of the first spots that happened was they lock up, and Joe drives him into the corner, and then he does the speed jabs.
Okay, I was going to talk about that. Good. So I am kind of keeping some semblance of order, because they did lock up, and Kevin Owens is like, huh, you think you could do that to me? The champ is here, because he feels so disrespected. And Joe just responds with those jabs, and I'm like, damn, he's making Kevin Owens his bitch. Like, it was so weird seeing Kevin Owens in this spot, and I feel like it works so well in Joe's favor, because if you've been following Kevin Owens, if you follow NXT, you know what he did to Sami Zayn. You presume to know what he did to Hideo Itami, even though he denied involvement. Alex Riley, John Cena most recently. And you think, finally, this guy's getting what he deserves. And Joe dishing that out looks so legitimate, because I can believe that a guy like Sami Zayn can take the fight to Kevin Owens if he's infuriated enough and he's passionate enough about that project of just beating the crap out of Kevin Owens. But with Samoa Joe, you just look at him and you automatically believe it. So I really like how that works. They had some great exchanges here. Kevin Owens doing masterful heel work. You noted, Ashton, and I completely agree with you. You love that he just talks during his matches and talks that trash. I think that's a great heel trait.
He's very vocal during his matches. And it's not even just the talking. It's like the selling. Like even if someone like just has him in a headlock, he'll be like, just selling it constantly with his sounds that he's making. And not enough people do that. I feel like someone has you locked in a headlock and you're just silent. Like that's what Joe did tonight even. Kevin Owens worked the absolute shit out of a headlock on Samoa Joe in this match. Like if this was a 10-minute match, 6 of those minutes were Samoa Joe in a headlock.
Yeah, but you know what though? He kept it interesting because of him being vocal, which I think is really why he said the statement he did. Because A, it's just, again, he talks great trash, so from a heel perspective it's great. And B, to keep the crowd sucked in, yeah, you talk to him, you interact, you have a whole environment to work with. I know Triple H used to coach people on that E60 special. We heard him say, when you're making your entrance, use everything. Well, it's kind of the same in a match. If you're in a rest hold, you've got an audience that's watching, you've got people jeering you or cheering you or whatever, interact with it. Use it.
And usually like rest holds are for calling spots. Like you get the guy in a rest hold, you get your head right up next to theirs, and you can talk in their ear and tell them what's going to happen next in the match. But I mean, I don't know if Kevin Owens just talks faster than everyone else, or if he just doesn't plan his matches out ahead of time, or what. But at the end of the day, he apparently gives himself enough time to trash talk not just the person in the hold, but the entire crowd as well.
Absolutely. And I mean, he even got a chant going of Headlock City,
yep,
which was great. So really getting that heat. His offense still looks amazing even against a behemoth like Joe, because he did the cannonball in the corner and he got his senton. But here's the thing about that. Joe kicked out at 1. And again, going back to my original point of loving the booking of Samoa Joe, because anybody else, that would have been not only a 2 count, but probably 2 3/4, like a near fall here. But Joe, he's like, just dusting that off, just wiping it off his shoulder and moving on to the next thing. I loved it. Ash, I'm gonna kind of shift the discussion over to you here a little bit. What were some of your highlights of this match? Because I know I talked about some things. Is there any points you want to make about either Kevin Owens or Joe, or just this match?
One word.
Yeah.
Face wash.
Oh, that was so good.
And the great thing is, like, that's a signature move. That's something that Joe does in pretty much every match. But Corey Graves pointed out that it was very disrespectful of him to do that.
Yeah. And then I love, because it wasn't too long after that though, right? That Kevin Owens was just totally backpedaling, like, oh god, I want no part of this, and like he's going out of the ring, he wants to get out. Joe, of course, chasing after him. I mean, the fight just breaks out. What did you think of the finish? Because I loved it, and I think you probably feel the same way, but I want to know your thoughts about it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the finish was perfect. It was, if you have to have a match between these two this early, there is literally no other way to finish the match than what they did.
Right.
The old double count out, double disqualification, whatever you call it, there was no winner. There was no definitive finish. There wasn't even a hint that one of these guys had an advantage. They just ended the match because it was out of control.
And 2 points I want to make about the crowd, actually. When they did the lockup and Joe put Kevin Owens in the corner, they were already chanting, "This is awesome." So they know what they're witnessing. They know what they have on their hands. And second of all, they were so into these guys beating the hell out of each other and neither man really giving an inch. Although if we were to say who had the upper hand, I mean, clearly you probably have to give it to the babyface because Kevin Owens is backpedaling, doing all that stuff. They were saying, let them fight while referees and security were trying to, pry them off of each other. They were hook, line, and sinker. They were just totally into it. And I love that. I love that those two guys were able to pull it off. Not that I had any doubts. And yeah, they keep going back and forth. Now, I must have missed this part, actually, because I didn't get what the whole, hubbub was with the whole ooh reaction. Did Kevin Owens punch a guard in the face? Is that what happened?
He elbowed one of them in the face, and then he punched another one in the face. Yeah, he was.
Oh, okay.
He was kind of going ham.
Yeah, he will definitely be fined or suspended or some kind of kayfabe punishment or whatever. But yeah, and Joe, like I said earlier, I think Joe cut a WWE.com exclusive kind of promo where he says, let them fight. He reiterates the fans' words. He says, "I did not get the fight that I wanted because Kevin Owens is still walking today." And he pretty much says, "I want Kevin Owens. Let me fight." I gotta say, I miss this Samoa Joe because when I watched him really let himself go and put on the weight and be slower and just, the stupid storylines TNA would put in, I'm like, Samoa Joe's probably one of the easiest people to book because you put him in the ring and he kills people. Like, it's really that straightforward. You don't need to give him any complexities or nuances to his character. Just make him a guy that he loves beating people up and he wants to be
probably best if you avoid having him kidnapped by ninjas as well.
Yeah, that's a helpful tip, Booking Samoa Joe 101, do not make him interact with ninjas, especially if it involves kidnapping. But, yeah, this was the Samoa Joe I wanted to see throughout his entire TNA run. This is something you shouldn't tamper with. I love the intensity. I love the thirst for violence. He wants Kevin Owens. The fans want him, to have Kevin Owens. It's a great dynamic, and it's working. I'm loving that these signings, Owens, Balor, Tommy, Joe, I'm sure Uhaa Nation. I mean, they're just coming in and they're
Cassidy,
making that
McKay.
Cassidy, McKay, yeah, the women. You can't forget about the women. My apology. I'm glad you brought that up. Everybody that's getting.
If it was the main roster, you could totally forget about the women, but this is NXT and they know what to do with them.
Damn right. Yeah, for forgetting the women, that's a cardinal sin right there. You don't do that. You don't forget about the women. But yeah, everybody who has come in has immediately made a splash, and man, it's made for some great programming on NXT. I love the non-finish. It preserves, the credibility, the prestige of the matchup, down the road. Me and Ashton, I think both. I think it's safe to say for you as well, Ashton, don't think that the rematch will be for the NXT Championship, whenever that is, because I think we're fully expecting a title change at the Sumo Hall with Finn Balor. But it doesn't need the championship. That's the great thing about a program like this, is that you're not rooting for somebody, I hope that guy takes the title off him. It'd be nice, but I think it's just the idea that these two tanks are colliding, and who's going to emerge from that victorious. So, it's great stuff.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to say about this?
Let's get going, brother.
All right, let's go into our final segment, high spots and low shots. You know what? I'm going to say that my low shot is, I want to say Wesley Blake, because I think he ate the pin, and the team as a whole is in rough shape, because I think this win has put Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy back into title contention. So, yeah, and because Wesley Blake ate the pin, he takes the fall. Not a good night for the Dubstep Cowboys.
You know what? I didn't think I'd be able to do this, but my low shot is Kevin Owens.
Ooh.
It seems like all these feuds that he's been taking on, it's him versus the world, and it's starting to look a little bit like the world might just be a little bit too much for him, because he's got Samoa Joe basically trying to end him, not even just his career, just him in general. Finn Balor is breathing down his neck. He just lost to John Cena. He's picking one too many fights, it's starting to feel like.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. And I mean, especially against Samoa Joe at certain points in the match, it was looking less like Fight Owens Fight and more like Run Owens Run, because he knew he had bitten off more than he could chew.
Well, there's a difference between running away and a tactical retreat.
Indeed, look at you pulling the me's. First of all, imitating my mannerisms, and that seems like something I would say to justify a heel's actions. But Johnny ruined his life. He had it coming. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, Kevin Owens. Here's the thing. I don't ever really feel like I can call Kevin Owens a cat because he always does something with some kind of purpose. You know, nothing's ever wasted with Kevin Owens. But yeah, I mean, tonight he really met his match in Samoa Joe, and I think you're right. When the world takes on Joe's face or Cena's face or anybody that can give even a little bit of pushback for what Kevin Owens is about, I mean, it's like Joe said in that promo, you know, earlier in the night, intimidation is a tactic of the weak. Well, Kevin Owens wasn't able to intimidate Joe tonight.
Wait a minute. If intimidation is a tactic of the weak, then Samoa Joe must be a pussy.
Oh, yeah, really.
Because he's one of the most intimidating sons of cunts I've ever seen.
Yeah. But, you know, he called the bully out. They had it out. And even though Joe didn't get the decisive victory, sure, I mean, Joe was still standing. And Joe's still raring to go. I love that they even kind of build up the illusion, like, can Kevin Owens even powerbomb Samoa Joe? Which I'm absolutely certain he can. You know, there's no question about that. But, you know, Joe stuffed that attempt, and he back body dropped him, you know, on the floor. It's like, you're not going to end my career that easily. I've got plenty of fight left. So, yeah, I completely agree with your low shot. But with all that talking, I got to remember to give my high spot. And my high spot, you know what? To pay compensation for forgetting about the women earlier, I'm going to make my high spot Casey Cassidy, because she hung with Charlotte. Yep. And I think it's a great matchup to put yourself on the mat. And, you know, we got to understand, folks, with high spots and low shots, I don't really think we have any kind of criteria. At least I don't. I don't think you do either. It's not about necessarily wins and losses. Generally, it's about, you know, who had the best night. And sometimes, you know, a win goes a big way in doing that. But Casey Cassidy, when you can hang with somebody that NXT makes as one of the biggest deals, you know, former NXT Women's Champion, that really speaks volumes. Casey Cassidy has a bright future in NXT, and I can't wait to watch it all unfold. So I'm going to make her my high spot just to support the women. Yeah.
I dig it, dude. I love it. All right. Well, my high spot is Finn Balor. And I'm going to make it a co-high spot and Becky Lynch, because that one video package did more for the two of them combined than any video package has ever done for any one performer in WWE history, I think.
Oh, yeah. I think it resonated with both of us so strongly. I loved it. It was a beautiful piece of film. Again, it makes me excited for Finn Balor's inevitable documentary. And when I can say, like, that's a huge deal if you know me as a consumer, especially of wrestling products. Finn Balor's the man, and Becky Lynch is the woman. I mean, she's awesome. They both are. And I love, you know, watching their relationship unfold and just, you know, finding out more about who both of these people are. Because they did spend quite a bit of good time on Becky Lynch, you know, surprisingly so.
Yeah.
At one point I'm even thinking...
Well, and that's another thing, too. Becky Lynch got more character progression in this one video package than any diva ever has on main roster television.
Oh, definitely. Because we knew, like, about her story a little bit, you know, going into Unstoppable. But when you see her tearfully go through it and mention Finn and just talk about that connection they share, it takes it to a whole nother level, I think. And yeah, this video package did a service to both of them. Makes me wonder if she's going to be highlighted anymore in part 2 next week.
Yeah, well, I don't know, dude. You almost have to wonder if we're going to get some Bullet Club action next week.
Oh, man, can you imagine if they were able to, like, snag some sound bites, you know, kind of promote this match in Sumo Hall? That'd be really cool.
Carl Anderson, AJ Styles, Young Bucks, and frickin' Luke Gallows on Talking Heads talking about Finn Balor.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
That'd be so surreal.
Definitely. I mean,
especially AJ. I mean, the Young Bucks would be ridiculous too, but out of the 5 that I just named, AJ Styles on WWE television only as a talking head so he can talk about someone else, which just seems so weird.
I know, right? That's crazy to think about, but yeah, I absolutely love your high spot and your co-high spot. Excellent pick. Couldn't have done any better myself. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. These two are amazing, so great stuff.
Absolutely. All right, guys, let's move it.
All right, with that said, this has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. What did you think of NXT this week? Here's a question for you. When do you think Enzo and Big Cass will get a rematch for the NXT Tag Team Championships? What did you think of the Finn Balor video package? Really, just what was your favorite moment overall this week on NXT? Be sure to take the conversation over to Pweetoff, an amazing pro wrestling group on Facebook, some of the best wrestling fans you will ever meet. But I get it. I get it. If you're anxious, aardvark, about interacting with other people, I sympathize, but Ashton has got you covered because he has made a TWitWoW subreddit where you can just interact with myself and my cohort and commentary here about all things pro wrestling. And we will see you again for our Monday Night Raw review, where I only have one question. Who's Kevin Owens going to powerbomb next? Until then, tune in and peace out. Oh, actually, guys, wait, before that, my apologies. We are going to be doing ROH Best in the World. That'll be coming up soon. That'll be live reactions. You know those are always can't miss, especially if you watched our Lucha Underground live reactions tonight, which I urge everybody to go do if you haven't done that yet. But we will be doing ROH Best in the World. It is going to be amazing, and that'll be Saturday evening. So that will come before our Monday Night Raw review. So, yeah, be on the lookout for that, guys. You know our live reactions are always can't miss. And with that said, now I can safely say, tune in and peace out. Love you.